My name is Kaitlyn Harper, and at 29 years old, I never saw it coming the night my dad picked the most expensive steakhouse in New York City to tear me down one more time. For years, he'd called me the family flop, the girl who majored in art history instead of finance, who still drove a beat-up Honda Civic, who couldn't hack it in the real world. But that family dinner flipped everything when he leaned in, his voice slicing through the low hum of silverware on plates, and dropped those words like a gut punch. One dish here costs more than your whole month's salary. My brothers both in their tailored suits fresh off their big wins at the law firm, and the hospital smirked like it was the punchline of the year. Dad's eyes locked on mine, waiting for the flinch, the usual scramble to defend myself. The table went dead quiet, forks hovering midair, the smoke from the sizzling porterhouse still curling up like a bad omen. I didn't flinch. I just smiled, slow, steady, and raised my hand. Snap. The sound cut sharp, echoing off the dark wood panels. Heads turned. Conversations stalled. And then from the kitchen doors, he came rushing over, the owner himself, silver hair, slicked back, tie straight as a board. He bypassed a table of Wall Street suits, waving him down, zeroed in on me, and bowed deep, his voice warm but commanding. "Honored VIP, how may we serve you tonight?" Dad's whiskey glass froze halfway to his lips. My brothers' smirks vanished, faces draining white. The air thickened, every eye in the room on us now. That look pure shock, twisting Dad's smug grin into something raw. I'd replay it forever. If you were in that situation, what would you do? I'd love to hear your answers in the comments section. Right then, Lester Quinn pulled up a chair from an empty table, his face lighting up like he'd just spotted a long-lost partner. He settled in, ignoring the way Dad's eyes narrowed, and leaned toward me first. "Kaitlyn, you should have texted. I'd have cleared the prime cut for you." Dad's glass hit the table with a clink, whiskey sloshing over the rim. "Wait, you know her?" Lester turned, his smile fading into something sharper, more businesslike. "Know her, Mr. Harper. Your daughter's the reason this place didn't go under last year. Pandemic hit us hard. Reserves drained a major backer, bailed banks breathing down our necks. We were 48 hours from flipping the sign to closed. 40 years I'd built this steakhouse, from pipe and drape days to Manhattan skyline views, all hanging by a thread." Travis choked on his scotch, coughing into his napkin. She wired money that's insane." Seth just stared, his fork forgotten, midway to his mouth, the rare filet mignon cooling on his plate. "Kaitlyn, you did what?" Lester held up a hand, signaling the waiter, Drew Lyle, who'd been hovering since I arrived, to bring over a bottle from the private reserve. Amber liquid poured into glasses, including one for me this time, a smooth single malt that smelled of oak and smoke, cutting through the rich haze of seared beef from the kitchen pass. Not just money. She dove in, reviewed our books, spotted inefficiencies we'd missed for years. Renegotiated supplier contracts, reworked the lease with the landlord. Streamlined ops without skimping on quality. The dry-aged ribeyes still hit 12 ounces, no corners cut. But when numbers still weren't enough, she wired the full amount we needed, $2,500,000, within the hour. Dad's face went ashen, his Rolex glinting under the low chandelier light as his hand trembled on the linen cloth. $2 million. That's not possible. She's the one driving that old Civic." Lester's eyebrows shot up, and he glanced at me, then back at them, the pieces clicking into place like a lock tumbler. "You didn't know." He chuckled low and disbelieving, pouring another round that caught the flicker of candle flames on the crystal rims. "Kaitlyn isn't just an investor. She owns 60% of this place now. My boss, the generous, under-the-radar kind who shows up in the Honda for city parking, but keeps a Tesla Model S and a vintage Mustang in the garage upstate. Travis leaned forward, his tie loosening like his grip on reality, the vein in his forehead pulsing under the dim glow. Upstate. She has a place up there. Bought a lakefront estate last summer. Paid cash, no fanfare, just done. Lester's tone turned firm, the restaurateur who'd survived 3 recessions peeking through his fingers drumming once on the oak armrest. Look, I don't spin tales, especially not about the woman who kept my staff employed my doors open. 40 employees, waiters like Drew here, who'd been pulling doubles just to scrape by on tips from tourists dodging the skyline views. She saw the heart of it, not just the spreadsheets, the late-night shifts, the family stories over the maitre d' stand. Seth finally found his voice soft but cracking like thin ice underfoot. How I mean, Dad always said she was struggling. No big deals, no headlines in the journal. That's the point, Lester said, raising his glass to me, the liquid swirling amber in the low light. She flies low, no press, no splash. But this city, her fingerprints are everywhere in the deals that matter, the quiet restructures, the backroom handshakes that keep the lights on. Dad set his glass down hard, the ice rattling like loose change in a pocket. You're full of it. My daughter, a silent partner in a place like this, she'd have said something years ago. Lester's eyes met mine, a silent check-in amid the thickening smoke from a nearby porterhouse, then back to him. Would she? After what I've heard tonight, the digs, the doubts, nah. Kaitlyn's not one to broadcast, but tonight covers blown wide open. His voice carried across the room. Eyes from nearby tables turned the low murmur of deals and dates, fracturing under the weight of Lester's words. First came Rhonda Tate, mid-40s, with a sharp bob and a power blazer that screamed boardroom, sliding her chair back from a corner booth where she'd been nursing a neat bourbon. She wove through the maze of linen-draped tables, her heels clicking soft against the polished oak floors, and stopped right at our edge, her gaze locking on me like a closing contract. Kaitlyn Harper, I thought that was you over the noise. She extended a manicured hand gold cuff, catching the chandelier's gleam. Rhonda Tate from the Midtown Partners Fund. Your $2 million infusion last spring turned my crumbling retail mall into a mixed-use gold mine. Suppliers locked in leases flipped, it's pulling tenants like clockwork now. Travis's knife scraped his plate too hard, the sound grating like brakes on subway tracks. $2 million for a mall, Dad, did you hear? Dad cut him off with a wave, his knuckles whitening around his fork, but Rhonda pressed on undeterred, her voice steady as a closing bell. She didn't just throw cash. Connected me with those warehouse brokers downtown, reworked the zoning permits overnight. Without her, that place would have been another empty lot staring at the skyline. Seth shifted in his seat, the leather creaking under him, his napkin twisted tight in one fist. Zoning, Kaitlyn, you handle that stuff? Before I could nod, another figure approached Carla Moss, 50-ish, with salt and pepper waves pulled into a loose knot, her simple pearl necklace swinging as she hurried from a family table near the window. The harbor lights from outside flickered across her face, casting shadows that softened the lines around her eyes. She clutched a half-empty water glass, knuckles pale. Miss Harper, Kaitlyn Wright, Carla Moss. My boy's the busboy here, third shift. That culinary scholarship you funded, he just aced his finals top of the class at the Institute. No banks touching his application, no loans piling up. Because of you, he's got a shot at line cook next fall. Dad's jaw tightened, the muscle jumping under his clean-shaven skin, but Carla didn't back down, her free hand gesturing toward the kitchen pass, where steam rose in lazy curls from the grill. He'd been scraping tips for community college, dodging eviction notices up in the Bronx. Your program's quiet, no names, just results. Changed everything for us. Travis slammed his palm flat on the table, the silverware rattling in unison. Scholarship, you're bankrolling schools now. This is nuts. The chain didn't stop there. From the swinging doors of the kitchen emerged Blaine Ward, the head chef, wiping flour-dusted hands on his white coat, his broad shoulders filling the frame like a linebacker's. The scent of garlic and herb butter trailed him sharp against the house's signature char from the broiler. He bypassed a server balancing trays and planted himself beside my chair, voice gravelly from years over open flames. Kaitlyn, perfect timing that rub-you tweaked cardamom and smoked paprika on the bone-in ribeye. Took 6 runs to nail it, but damn if it hasn't sold out 3 nights straight. He clapped a hand on my shoulder, brief but firm, the warmth seeping through my blouse. Guests rave best steak in the city, they say. Your palate's gold, turned a standard cut into our signature. Seth leaned back his chair, scraping faint against the runner eyes darting between us like he was piecing together a puzzle with missing edges. Signature you. Consult on the menu. Blaine grinned, teeth flashing white against his stubble, and nodded toward the pass where a porterhouse sizzled under heat lamps. More than that, she spots what works the balance of sear and rests the way it pairs with the house cab. Keeps us ahead of the pack without the hype. Rhonda lingered a beat, exchanging a quick nod with Carla, then Blaine, before stepping back with a final squeeze of my arm. We'll talk next week, that warehouse flip. Carla murmured thanks again, her glass trembling slightly as she retreated and Blaine vanished back into the steam. The room's hum picked up, but slower now, laced with whispers that brushed our table like a chill draft. Kaitlyn set her fork down the tines, clinking softly against the bone china, her eyes steady on Dad's, as the whispers wove into a low buzz. You all built your lives on what I put in place without even realizing it. Travis blinked, his tie suddenly too tight, fingers drumming the edge of his water glass where condensation beaded. What the hell does that mean? You're talking riddles now. She leaned forward, the candle flame dancing in her pupils. Start with your firm, Travis. That high-rise on Lexington prime space for a hotshot lawyer. The lease terms you bragged about last Christmas below market by 20%. I own the building. Bought it 2 years back when the owner tanked on loans. Renovated the lobby, upgraded HVAC, turned it into Midtown gold. Kept your rent locked low. Blood's thicker than ink. Dad's breath hitched, napkin crumpling in his fist as he stared at his half-eaten New York strip juices pooling cold. You own our office. The board meeting next week. Goes off without a hitch. Kaitlyn finished, voice even slicing through the herb-crusted beef haze from the pass. Because I made sure elevators run smooth, conference room wired for video calls. Business 98% occupancy. Yours included. Seth pushed his plate away, ceramic scraping wood stethoscope chain glinting under his collar. Wait, our hospital's annual retreat, the Hudson Valley Lodge, discounted rates every quarter. Dad said it was his golf buddy's hookup. Kaitlyn nodded once, fingers tracing her water glass stem, cool droplets tracing paths. Grand Hudson Resort. Failing property when I snapped it up, over-leveraged after the crash, empty suites gathering dust. Flipped it into corporate haven spa for burnout docs, ballrooms for seminars on patient protocols. That buddy rate, my call. 25% off flexible dates, AV upgrades for telehealth demos. Kept your budget intact while you climbed to chief resident. Travis's laugh barked out, not reaching his eyes, chair legs shifting with a creak. We've been squatting on your handouts. Dad's toast to smart deals were your shadows. Dad slammed his palm down, impact rippling his creamed spinach green flecks, scattering. This is a joke. Set up to embarrass us. You couldn't have what, Dad? Kaitlyn's tone stayed level, cutting clean as a fillet knife through tenderloin gaze, holding his without flicker. Pulled strings from sidelines. While you praised Travis's verdicts and Seth's shifts, I did. Wired seed for your first flip, the warehouse seeding your portfolio. Kept rates low on developments when banks balked. Every concession silence. No questions, no credit. just results. Seth rubbed his temple fluorescent hum from skyline buzzing faint voice dropping low. Why hide it? We could have celebrated. Or asked. Because asking would have meant seeing, Kaitlyn replied, fork hovering over sirloin remnants, sear marks crisp under light. Seeing me meant admitting the flop wasn't flopping. Easier to keep the story straight me in the Civic scraping on consults. Your win's foundations I laid. Travis's face flushed red, matching his ribeye edge words tumbling edged with bite. So what now? Pull the plug, hike rent, cancel retreats, pay back. Kaitlyn met his stare, unblinking, the room's whispers fading into distant roar. The weight settled heavy on the table. Kaitlyn pushed back her chair slightly, the wood runner whispering against the floor as the main course arrived, plates of sizzling porterhouse for Dad and the brothers, my own filet with truffled fries, steam rising thin. A man in crisp gray suit materialized at the table's edge, briefcase in hand tie pin glinting under chandelier. Miss Harper, apologies for timing, but Chelsea District sellers greenlit your offer. $15 million for the block mixed residential worker housing. Papers need signature to lock before bulk. Dad's fork paused over meat juices dripping slow on porcelain. $15 million? What the why? I took folder from lawyer flipping open to highlighted lines, pen gliding across dotted line with scratch-cutting air. No hesitation, just ink drying under warm glow. Tell them done. Start conversions next quarter, affordable for line cooks keeping city running. Lawyer nodded, snapping case shut with click echoing faint. Congratulations, Miss Harper. Game-changer model for borough. He vanished, quick weaving toward exit where skyline lights pulsed through glass. Travis's eyes bugged, knife forgotten in grip. Signed for $15 million like lunch tab. Before answer, Clyde Finch, manager with salt-streaked hair and vest straining buttons, approached leather-bound folio under arm steps measured against silver on china hum. Miss Harper, for you and guests special selections. No prices as always. Laid open before me, first pages thick embossed script off-menu Wagyu tartare caviar pearls, age 28 days paired 2012 Bordeaux Reserve. Seth peered over resident scrubs under jacket out of place. No prices for whales, not. Partners, Clyde corrected, smooth distributing copies, cufflinks flashing as adjusted napkin fold. Kaitlyn curated half the sear times reductions. Keep sharp without markups. Staff materialized, then loose line at table's flank, Drew Lyle front tray, balanced fresh malt, pours apron crisp despite rush. Behind two bussers, sommelier faces familiar Thursday drop service door. Drew set glass down, nod murmur low. Thanks for doubles pay bump. Means college fall no loans. One busser, young Bronx lilt, added quick voice above neighboring plate sizzle. Sisters rent housing tie-in covered gap. No late nights worrying. Sommelier uncorked bottle pop turning heads, two tables over pouring Ruby Streams crystal. Vintage list your pick. 98 cab pulled inspector last month. 5 stars. Dad's steak untouched knife idle beside face mask, cracking edges. Staff parade your circus. I lifted glass liquid's warmth seeping through meeting eyes one by one. Their house too. I keep roof up. Outside valet signal flashed window Drew Lyle again, key fob hand pulling curb. Not Civic tucked lots back, but Aston Martin. DB11 midnight blue curves, gleaming street lamps, caramel interior catching neon Times Square bleed. Travis whistled low, breath-fogging glass. Not beater from college. Birthday self-gift last year, I said, standing smoothing dress chair back. Reliable counts flashy, doesn't. Line parted as stepped away murmurs. Good night, Miss Harper. Trailing aftershocks. The engine roared life beyond glass. Dad surged to his feet chair, tipping back with a thud that turned heads 2 tables over his face, a storm cloud under the low-hanging light. Kaitlyn, stop this. Family, that's what this is. We can wipe the slate, start fresh now. I see the truth. No more digs, no judgments. Let me make it right. Travis gripped the table edge, knuckles, bone-white suit jacket straining at shoulders. Yeah, sis, hold up. Evictions rate hikes. That's not you. We've been blind, okay. Dad's right, dinner next week, your place. Talk it out. Seth rose slower, hands open in that resident calm voice, threading careful through tension. He's got a point. I'm sorry, really. For the assumptions, the silence. Proud doesn't cover it. You're killing it, Kate. Give us a shot to prove we get that. Kaitlyn met Dad's eyes first, the flame in her glass, casting sharp shadows across her features' breath, even as the porterhouse aroma lingered faint. Make it right. Now that the check's cleared in your head, worthy only 'cause money talks louder than blood. Dad's mouth worked words catching like dry bread in throat-free hand, gesturing wild toward window where traffic hummed distant. No, it's more. Always new spark, just wrong path. Art degree Civic, thought protecting. Come on, kid. One call we fix. She shook head once, sharp earring catching glint. 29 years protecting, by erasing me, graduation skipped, calls dodged, flop labels stuck like labels on cuts. Fixed you'd rewrite history to fit the win. Travis stepped around table loafers, scuffing runner palm out like calming patient. History's done, look forward. Firm needs that building, but hell, I'll pay fair. No favors, just family sticks. Kaitlyn's laugh came low, not bitter, but edged steel fingers drumming stem once before still. Sticks like you did when I scraped freelance gigs or when Seth's med school loans loomed, stuck by watching from sidelines, handouts hidden, 'cause pride stung less than truth. Seth's shoulders slumped, tie askew gaze dropping to scuffed shoes. We messed up big, but blood's not cash. Forgive the blindness. One dinner, no agenda. See us try. Dad reached across, fingers brushing linen near her plate, voice cracking gravel. Please. Mom would have seen me. Kaitlyn cut in, pulling back, smooth napkin folding precise. She did. You chose narrative over daughter. Ends tonight. No calls, no holidays, no start fresh. Done. Travis's face drained, hands balling fists at sides. You'll regret cut us out after everything. Kaitlyn stood, dress falling, straight voice steady as skyline steady outside. Your everything was mine to prop. Mine built solo. Walk away clean. Seth's plea hung soft. Kate. Too late, Seth. She turned toward exit staff, parting silent murmurs, fading backdrop. Engine purred, waiting, curb door open, valet hand. Taillights blurred into stream. 1 week later, the fallout hit like a market crash nobody saw coming. Marvin Harper's office downtown felt the quake, first Chapter 7 papers stamped federal court ink, fresh as the coffee cooling on his desk. The warehouse development he'd pinned everything on that Tribeca flip touted at every club luncheon crumbled overnight. Banks called loans hard after Kaitlyn pulled the silent backstop, her 7-figure line he'd tapped unknowingly for the down payment. No more bridge funding, no extensions. Insufficient collateral. The email read, screen glare harsh against his rumpled shirt. Foreclosure notices piled, subcontractors bailing, partners scattering like pigeons from the plaza. By Thursday, the site sat idle, chain link rattling in wind off Hudson, a ghost project worth millions on paper, zero in reality. Travis got served next summons slapped on the firm's glass doors during lunch rush eviction lawsuit from Harper Holdings LLC, his own last name mocking back in fine print. Rent hiked to market overnight, 25% jump, no grace period. Breach of favorable terms. The filing stated, citing lease clauses he'd skimmed years ago. Boardroom emptied fast, clients bolting to competitors with stable addresses, verdicts delayed in temp spaces smelling of stale coffee. Travis paced the lobby phone, glued to ear, voice rising over lobby echo. "This is personal, sister, pulling strings?" Partner emails flew blame chaining, but the lockout loomed firm, teetering on dissolution. His corner office traded for conference calls from Starbucks. Seth felt the cut deepest in sterile halls, fluorescent buzz mocking his rounds. Hospital admin cornered him, post-shift clipboard thrust forward, funding shortfall, your residency programs on ice. The QIY Kaitlyn funneled anonymous grants for telehealth expansions, and low-income clinics dried up cold. No more stipends for interns, no equipment upgrades for ER bays. Donor pulled, the memo said terse as chart notes. Patients waited longer, beds overflowed Seth's shifts, stretching into marathons without backup tech. He scrolled her number that night, thumb hovering over send, but the message stayed blank, pride or fear holding fire. Kaitlyn, meanwhile, closed another circuit uptown penthouse overlooking Central Park West skyline, stretching endless from floor-to-ceiling panes. New deal sealed that morning, $18 million for Chelsea lofts, converting to artist co-ops with subsidized rents blueprints, unrolling across oak desk. Coffee steamed black, no sugar, as emails pinged Rhonda Tate, looping in on mall expansion Blaine Ward, raving over ribeye sales spike. No family folder, no voicemails checked, block list clean since taillights faded. Revenge settled quiet, not thunderclap, but erosion's steady foundation she'd propped now shifting under their feet. Marvin auctioned golf clubs to cover filings. Travis burned midnight oil in borrowed conference rooms. Seth patched protocols with duct tape and overtime. Each loss a mirror to dismissals, past echoes of flop, rebounding hollow. Success carved its own path, unapologetic bridges burned, lighting way forward. No glance back, just horizon sharp.